I paddled the R4 Worlds in Holland. So yeah, that was my first experience paddling as a team. But I think it's actually easier to coordinate 4 people than 6 people. Trying to coordinate 6 people in a raft is quite...
So, well, you more or less knew what you were up to when, starting here in the R6.
Yeah, I mean, I knew that there was, it was majorly teamwork involved in sort of doing well, and we could kind of tell actually over the weekend of racing that we'd not spent a lot of time together as a team because we were just a bit out on sort of the teamwork and coordination. So that's what we'll spend the next year working on, I guess, because all of us come from quite a strong background in whitewater. But as Bubba said today, you can have the strongest team of individual paddlers, but if we can't all work together as a team, then it just won't work.
Yeah. What makes it so difficult to become a team if you do have that individual racing background?
Yeah, well, for me personally, I always make the calls and I make my own decisions and just do what I want to do. But when you're in a team, it's so different because if you have an idea, you have to make sure that the rest of the team knows your idea, and you almost have to voice every thought so that your whole team can be on the same page, because everyone sort of has a slightly different idea of how to do things, and no idea is necessarily better than the other one, but it's just so important to have everyone on the same page. So sometimes it takes quite a long time to do a course or to do a training session because there's so much discussion around what to do, because we've just got to make sure that everyone understands what we're doing.
I hear different opinions about this. There are teams that say we don't need a leader, we work together, but there are also teams who say, well, we definitely want to have one leader. What do you think, and how does that work for your team?
I quite like the idea of having a leader because when 6 individuals are coming together and all sort of making calls and decisions, it can be so time consuming and be really difficult to sort of interpret which way to go about things. But when you've got a leader, you've just got that person who will make the end decision and make the call. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. And I think, well, in my opinion, that really works for us to have one person making the calls.
Yeah. We've seen this weekend a good example of how challenging it can be to become a good team. I noticed, well, the Australian team, where definitely there is some individual quality, like Will, Rob, Sam, who have that slalom background, but actually didn't do that well in the slalom race. Not that they're bad paddlers, but they probably still have to go through a certain part of that process, I guess. So how did you see that or experience that?
Yeah, I mean, the slalom's the most difficult part because it's the thing that I do and Will and Robbie and Sam do, and we're so used to just sort of being reactive on an individual basis and paddling a carbon boat. But when it comes to a raft, sort of all the strokes that you would do in your individual slalom boat, you can't really pull off in a raft. And I guess it comes down to a team thing again. I have in my mind how I would do a gate, but the whole team has to be on the same page, otherwise it just doesn't work. And when you're paddling a massive inflatable raft through poles and trying to be really accurate and trying to get 6 people to navigate the raft to such accuracy and within such small margins, it's really, really difficult. And that's probably the event that I struggle the most with, actually, because I think slalom paddlers are perfectionists, and some things just can't feel good in a raft, and it's a little bit frustrating.
Yeah. And what also struck me was that they all speak English. It's their language they have in common, but nevertheless, in talking, when they talk about the course, they might have a different vocabulary. So they might think they're talking about the same upstream gate, and they think they're going to take it in a similar way. They all agree.
Yeah.
But then once in the boat, the interpretation, the implementation, so to speak, differs. Is that also something that can happen?
Yeah, definitely, and that's why it's so important to spend a lot of time together as a team, so that we can learn the terms and sort of develop a language of explanation that everyone understands. Because in slalom there are some terms that you throw out that seem quite comprehensible, that someone from a rafting background would just have totally no idea and might interpret it in a different way, and then you end up coming into the gate and everyone's doing something different, just because you've used a term that's not widely understood. That's definitely a strong factor to consider.
Okay. Based on your experience, what 2 or 3 tips would you give a new team in becoming a team?
I guess the first thing would be to get to know each other, to understand each person's background, where they've come from, and then work out what their strengths are and where they fit into the team and into the raft. And it might be a good idea to swap around places for each event, depending on people's strengths. But I guess I'd say just spend a lot of time together as a team, so that when you race you really understand each other and can coordinate the raft without thinking, really. And no matter what background you come from, you're all in the same raft together, so you have no choice, really.
That sounds like a good advice and like, pure wisdom. Hey, Luuka, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.